Thank you for joining me in this video covering the Layout Lines application. You will not need your total station or tablet for this video, as I will be using the simulator to present the examples used. All other lessons learned throughout this video series will work together to accomplish tasks related to this and the other two layout applications, Layout Points and As-Built, and should be watched for refreshers in any areas necessary. The Layout Lines application can be found on the Icon Software's home screen within the Applications palette. If it does not appear here on your tablet, toggle it on through User Permissions. You may refer to Video 6 for a refresher on user permissions. Selecting the Layout Lines icon takes us to the map view, where we are prompted in the upper right corner to select points, line, or arc to stake out. Before we're able to begin staking out lines, we must complete a setup for the total station and know where it is in relation to the building and the control lines. You may visit Video 16 for a refresher on setups. For us to complete a setup, we must power on both the total station and tablet and connect them through Bluetooth. You may refer to Video 2 for a refresher on Bluetooth. If you do not see any points or lines on your map view to select, check that they are turned on through your Layer Manager. Refer to Video 15 for a refresher on the Layer Manager. If no CSV or DXF files appear in your Layer Manager, ensure that they have been properly loaded to the job associated with the floor you are working on, within the project you are working on, and that you are currently working in the correct project and job. You may visit Video 7 for a refresher on project setup and organization. Once these steps have been completed, we can start selecting the lines we want to lay out from the Layout Lines map view. In order to use this program to its full potential, it is necessary to explain how lines are interpreted in survey software first. Selecting any line in the background will result in the selected line turning blue. The appearance of a green flag and a black and white checkered flag, and the appearance of blue dashed lines extending from either flag in the direction of the selected line. To understand these objects, we must first define our understanding of a line. Note, if you try selecting a line from the background and nothing happens, it's because you don't have your DXF loaded as reference data. Please see Video 11, Import tab, or Video 7, Project Setup and Organization for instructions. The average person understands a line to be any line drawn. The truth is that a real line continues in either direction forever. What most people think of as a line is really what's known as a line segment. This means that it has a defined starting and ending point. It is important to understand this because it explains the parts shown on the screen and the way the information will be presented to you after clicking Start. The solid blue line represents the line segment that I selected. The two flags represent the defined starting and ending point of that line segment. And the dashed blue lines extending from the flags represent the true definition of a line in its infinite continuation. The green flag is the starting point, or zero station. Distances moved from the green flag, either towards or away from the checkered flag, are called stations. Any distance moved from the green flag towards the checkered flag will be a positive station. Any distance moved from the green flag away from the checkered flag will be a negative station. Please note that this has nothing to do with north, south, east, or west. Instead, the positive and negative station values are referencing the starting and ending points of the line segment. If I flip the line segment's direction, those values will change. I will show you examples momentarily. This means that technically, you can lay out the exact center of a line segment or a specific offset to a line segment beyond the starting or ending points infinitely. To summarize, stations are the distances moved in either direction, negative or positive, depending on the location of the start point of the line segment. Next, let's cover offsets. An offset is just like it sounds. It is any distance measured offset to the left or right of the line. You must understand that left and right of line are from the viewpoint of one standing on the green flag looking in the direction of the checkered flag. Left of line will always be a negative number, and right of line will always be a positive number. As with stations, this has nothing to do with north, south, east, or west. It is referencing the direction of the line as if looking from the green flag towards the checkered flag. Now that we've discussed what stations and offsets are and how they are related to the parts of the line that are displayed on the screen after selecting a line segment, I will show you examples of how the program works and the way the information is presented to you before we open the toolbox and explain the options you have for working with lines. First, I'm going to back out of layout lines to clear my screen so that I can explain the first prompt. Now that I've cleared my screen, notice the first prompt that we started with says select points, line, or arc to stake out. What this means is that you can select any 2 points or any line or arc in the background to lay out lines. I'll use points first to show you an example. If I select 2 points, the same properties apply to selecting a line in the background. Then selecting lines in the background, you can select any line in the drawing. For example, a column face, control lines, shear walls, and if this is our electrical room here, the inside face of block for the electrical room. And then here's an example of an arc. Notice your dashed line that represents infinity became a solid line for an arc, but the same principle applies. The reason it's important to recognize that you can use background lines, say for underground excavating, utility conduits, you could lay out the underground utility lines, and notice that the lines don't need to have points associated with them in order for you to lay them out. For now, let's use a straight line for the purposes of the information I'm going to show you. Once the total station is locked on your prism, click Start. And the first thing you'll notice is your blue arrow pointing you towards the line and the distance you need to move in order to get on the center of that line. Once I'm on the line, I can make a mark, a crow's foot, or however you need to mark it. And then you could walk down, make another mark, and snap a chalk line on the deck or whatever surface you're working on. Now here's the example of the stations and offsets I was describing earlier. This number is the distance in station from the green flag in the direction of the checkered flag. Right now it's positive because I'm on this side of the green flag. Notice that if I move to the other side of the flag, away from the checkered flag, it became negative. But I'm still 1/8 from the center of the line. You can tell station because of an arrow pointing down the line, and offset for the arrow pointing away from the line. So if I'm standing here looking in the direction of the checkered flag, this is left and this is right. As mentioned earlier, left of line will always be negative and right of line will always be positive. Now if I flip the line, the green flag is now here, the checkered flag is here. This became left of line, which is negative, and this is now right of line, which is positive. Also notice that my station value changed because now my 0 starting point is here and I am in a positive direction 275 feet away from there. If I move to this side of the flag as it's looking towards the checkered flag, now this number became negative. Once again, if I flip it, those values change. I'm now left of line and I'm now 271 feet positive from green flag to checkered flag. Typically, when working with long straight lines such as this control line, stations don't matter anyways. But when working with shorter lines, especially defining a room or a column, I use the green flag and the negative values to know when I've gone too far past the line. So in this example, if I were laying out this wall, I would try to make sure that I was on line and then put a point just a couple inches past the green flag. Then after getting that mark, I would flip the line and do the same thing on the other side. This ensures that I don't go too far down the dash line and overextend my chalk line. The same is true when laying out arcs. For example, even though it does show me infinity, my utility line runs straight after the arc finishes. So the best thing to do is get close as possible to the flag, make my mark, and then switch lines. Then continue making marks on the other side. Even in those cases, as you can see, the majority of the time I'm using my offset information to get online. Now that you have an understanding of how the program works and how the information will be presented to you, let's go over your options in the toolbox. Each application will have its own toolbox with tools pertaining to the corresponding application. The first tool in the upper left corner is Stake to Elevation. Using this tool requires us to set an elevation for the vertical center of the total station through the Setup menu. This will be covered in hands-on training. In short, Stake to Elevation allows us to transfer any elevation to any location we need. It is a highly effective tool that can be used practically anywhere without referencing control points. The next tool is Flip. As mentioned previously, this allows us to change the locations of the green and checkered flags, which changes how our station and offset numbers are presented to us in negative and positive values. Here's an example. The next tool is Parallel Offset. This allows us to search for and mark a specific offset to a line. This is particularly useful when staking out arcs. Here's an example. If I want to offset 5 feet from this line, I would click in the offset box, type in 5 feet, click the green check, and this is exactly 5 feet. It's important to note that if you don't click the green check, it will not start measuring those distances. If you click the red X, it will cancel the operation. While this is useful, the same can be achieved by reading the screen and looking at the offset. This is more useful when you're doing arcs, because arcs don't always have the same offset because they're on a radius. Before I move to arcs, let's discuss negative and positive values. Remember, positive numbers are right of line from the point of view of the green flag towards the checkered. So if I wanted a 5-foot offset on this side of the line, it would have to be negative. This is your negative positive button here. Clicking the green check and the green check now puts me at 5 feet from this side of the line. Now let's do an arc. If I move over here with the rod, it's going to be much harder to get on a perfect offset. I can set a perfect offset and lay out that line. Or I can change it to negative and go to the other side. This particular arc isn't allowing me to do it, but that is typically the case. The next tool is perpendicular line. Before I select this, I'm going to clear out my parallel line. And then I'm going to select a straight line. And select perpendicular line. And as you'll notice, the first line it draws is from the green flag, which is the starting point. If for some reason you would like to lay out an offset perpendicular to a control line or any other line, come to Station, put in whatever value of offset you want to move, and notice that it moved it down that 10 feet that I typed in, perpendicular to this line. Clicking the green check accepts it, the red X cancels it. And then it behaves just as any other line does when you're staking out. Your positive and negative values still mean the exact same thing in relationship to the green flag and the checkered flag. The next tool is Connect Points. This tool allows us to physically draw on the background and leaves behind the line we've drawn, which will be visible in other applications. Here's an example. I'm asked to select points for the new line. Clicking the green check will draw the line and leave it behind. Clicking the red X will cancel it. It automatically has tried to start staking that line, but I want to show you something else. If I go to another application, that line that I drew appears. By drawing a line, it also created a point on top of that line, defining the starting and ending point. Here are the new points created by drawing that line. The next tool is Create Arc. Like Connect Points, this tool allows us to physically draw on the background and leaves behind the new arc we've drawn, which will be visible in other applications. Here's an example. The first thing I ask is to select points for the arc. There are two methods for drawing arcs. You can select 3 points, clicking the green check accepts the line, red X cancels, and now we have our arc. Or you can click 2 points and type in the radius if you have a specific radius on the blueprints. Using this method allows you to choose which arc you want. The one that is blue is the one that would be drawn. Clicking the green check accepts, red X cancels. Notice it left behind the lines, and again, as with lines, arcs leave behind points. The next tool is Edit Point. This tool functions the same as in other applications. We cannot edit points that were imported as a CSV file, but note that here, if we used Connect Points or Create Arc, we can edit the information of the temporary points that were created by those lines. Here's an example. Clicking on a point imported by the CSV does nothing. Clicking on one of the temporary points allows us to edit the information of those points. You can change the code, the ID, the northing, easting, and elevation. Clicking the green check accepts, red X cancels. The next tool is auto staking and will not be used. The next tool is undo, which undoes the previous action. Finally, the last tool is delete. Obviously, it deletes objects, but I want to show you how it works with connect points and create arc. We can either delete the temporary points that were created as a result of drawing the lines, or we can delete the lines, or we can delete both depending on the information you want to keep on your screen. Remember, if you draw a line, it will remain on your map view unless you delete it. Here's an example. In this case, deleting will delete the point and the line. This will delete everything. This will only delete the line. As you can see, the program Layout Lines has so many useful applications that I won't even try to cover them all in one video. Just a couple popular uses are checking control lines after initially setting up your total station to make sure you are correctly oriented to the building, extending your own control lines to tape measure from later, laying out electrical room walls so someone else can lay out the electrical room with a tape measure while you are busy laying out in another area, and laying out underground conduit for excavations. Remember, to use layout lines, you don't have to have points on the lines. You can just use the lines in the DXF. The last example, underground conduit, when used in conjunction with transferring elevations, is an excellent method to not only lay out the location of the conduits, but the proper depth as well. Finally, as mentioned in the opening comments, all previous training videos work together to support the layout applications. There are many view controls and visibility filters, search methods and point identifiers, and other various tools that can be combined to make your layout work faster, easier, and more comfortable for you as the end user. It is highly recommended to watch all the videos to use the equipment to its full potential. These videos, combined with the training and support recently added to the company, are here to help you in any way possible. Thank you for joining me in this video covering layout lines. Please join me in the following video which will cover as built.